go, here we go. Laddie, 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 oh. Here we go, here we go.
Hello and welcome to Draw, Lose or Draw for a special episode where we're going to take a deep dive into the stereotypes that surround Partick Thistle fans. Joining me to do so are David Forrest. David, hello, how are you?
I'm fine.
Good. Marc Wallace is here. Marc, how are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Bryan Greig's here. Bryan, how are you?
I'm smashing, thank you very much.
And rounding off is Ken Boswell. Ken, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks very much, Matt.
Good stuff. Just to give you an idea of the type of guests we've got on this week, we're recording on a Monday at 7 p.m. And when this time was suggested, Ken was worried that he was going to miss the Only Connect final. So I think I know what I'm going to get with my first question, and I'll come round the table and I'll start with you, Ken. Do you think the stereotype that Thistle fans are all West End hipsters is a fair one?
I think to a certain extent there probably is an element within the club with that. And I mean, it's one of the things when you go back, talking about the Jags Foundation and, how do we get people through the gates? There was always this thing about, we should have a stall at Glasgow Uni or something like that. But I think people tend to find their way to Partick Thistle from that kind of community generally anyway. And I suppose, from my own experience, the way I ended up at Firhill was, this is back in the mid-70s, and Mum and Dad were obviously very aware of the kind of old firm thing. And I suppose at the time it would be sort of panini stickers and all that kind of thing, and it was like, I didn't really differentiate. I'm from a kind of non-denominational household because my parents were Baptists, believe it or not. So one day I was out playing in Hamilton Drive Lane, playing football, and Archie McPherson had lost the keys to his Volvo, and it was like the kind of thing Columba would have driven. And he got one of us to climb through the window to open the doors, right? Now, no slant on Archie McPherson at all. There was nothing sleazy about it at all. He said, right, what team do you support? And we were just like, Partick Thistle, I suppose, since they're the nearest one. And we ended up going up to Firhill. So from that point of view, you kind of fall into it. It's not even a kind of family thing. So, yeah, I think there probably is quite a strong bohemian rather than hipster. I prefer bohemian element to the support,
I think the fact that we've had the word bohemian 2 minutes in probably suggests that there is that sort of stereotype might be true. Bryan, do you want to give us your thoughts on it?
Well, first of all, he's in straight away with the hipster Baptists there. He's not even gone Catholic or Protestant. He's just gone straight in there. So I think that's your answer there, pretty much. But in all seriousness, I think, that there has been. I'm sort of born and brought up in the West End, not there anymore, unfortunately. And it felt like everybody kind of gravitated towards Firhill then, whether it was an overtly sort of almost political decision to not be affiliated to either one of the old firm or not, I don't know. But then Thistle used to crop up, whether it was the butt of the joke in a play or a TV show or whatever, but then also were used in TV programmes, of course, the Tune the Fat Guys with their banter sketch, and then you've got Thistle coaching for Gregory's girl and stuff like that. And then, of course, the stereotype of the actors, the lubbies who go to Firhill or claim they do, like I think Craig Ferguson and Boaby King. So, I would say, and I like the idea of bohemian rather than hipster, because I don't know if hipsters get slightly negative connotations. So I'll go with Ken on this one, if that's okay.
That's absolutely fine. David, I'll bring you in.
I think definitely there is a sort of gravitation towards it from the more bohemianality, I'll use the term as well. I think there is a couple of reasons for this. I think one thing that does help is that obviously they are the third team in Glasgow. The Great Glasgow Alternative, is they always crow on about. So it is always very much the cool idea of, yeah, you can go there. Going back to sort of like the panini stickers and things like that, Thistle always tend to have a very striking strip. So if you are like a sort of a kid or a sort of a football nerd or something like that, I would certainly say if you're from like another country or whatever and you got a sticker album of like Scottish League, the Thistle would be one of the ones that stuck out to you because you always have very striking kits, and you know the red and yellow is a very striking thing. So I think it is very easy to gravitate towards that if you're that way inclined, whereby that's going to be a team that's going to jump out at you. They're on the West End, so you know your local fan base is going to be made up of, you know, of sort of Glasgow uni students and stuff like that. But I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's a great thing to have. But no, I would definitely say there's definitely the aid of the hipster to us, definitely.
Mark, I've deliberately left you to last because with my experiences with everyone who's on the panel, I think you are the least hipster, and I'm sure you wouldn't argue with that. What are your sort of thoughts on the stereotype?
I think there's definitely an element there. Like, certainly, I'm very familiar with the West End, Glasgow University and all that sort of stuff, but I think there's an element there, but I think people like to play it up more for whatever reason, like has been touched on before, like with the sort of references to Gregory's Girl and like chewing the fat and stuff like that. It's an easy thing to make fun of. I think it's similar sort of thing to if you remember the rampant sort of caricatures of the Celtic Rangers fans by Tony Roper and Jonathan Watson, and Only an Excuse. So like it's very easy to caricature something like that. So I could see why people think that we're all into all that sort of stuff, but I don't think it's a massive thing at all. I think it's certainly overhyped, overplayed, in my opinion.
Mark, I need to apologise for saying you're the least hipster for accidentally getting a Jonathan Wilson reference in.
I was going to say, Matt, I just wanted to...
See, as soon as I said it, I was like, oh, fuck.
I was going to say, Matt, you called him the least hipster of us, and you've literally been in a car with him as he's ran through Ghanaian Premier League results.
That's true.
So, very damning of this entire panel that he's the least hipster of us.
I think. Sorry, Matt. I think Mark's absolutely right there. I mean, if you compare ourselves to the likes of definitely Celtic, if you're talking about sort of artists and students and all that kind of thing, in terms of representation within the support of what hipster or artisan or bohemian or whatever means, I would say that the Celtic support, despite maybe not being perceived as a kind of hipster club, although there may be an element of that as well, are far beyond us. I mean, obviously they've got a much, much bigger support, but for better or worse, we've been identified with it, you know?
I think it probably does come down to just being the alternative, and when you go down, break it right down to the roots of it, that's really what hipster means, is alternative, and we are the Glasgow alternative. So I suppose in a sense, we are hipsters for sort of not following the crowd and going with Rangers or Celtic.
Yeah.
You would find that Queen's Park would be the hipster club. You would have thought Queen's Park playing in like a 58,000 seater stadium with 500 attendances and being fully amateur until like now would be the hipster club. But
that's
it just
trying
seems
too hard though. That is trying too hard to be hipster. That's just going for it. I think though that the interesting thing with the Celtic Rangers side of it is that you could even come back to the kind of not glory hunting aspect of it, but the fact that with Celtic Rangers you are guaranteed a level of success historically, and with Thistle it's more about the atmosphere or you're not going expecting to win games. It's a bonus, so you're not guaranteed that level of success. So you have to have some other reason for turning up, and whether that's the vibe or the people associated with the club or the fact that there's good pubs and coffee shops nearby. I don't know.
Actually, I mean, talking about people associating themselves with the club. I'm friendly with David Belcher, who used to write for the Herald, and he's a Thistle fan since he's been up here. And if you don't mind, I'll tell you a story about the time. Do you know John Hegley, the poet, ukulele?
John Hegley, yeah,
We were playing Cowdenbeath away, and it was during the Edinburgh Festival, and John Hegley came along with his Norwegian wife and their 2 wains to come and see us playing at Cowdenbeath, because he's from Yorkshire or something like that, and David Belcher knows him, and he's quite into football, but he brought him along to Central Park, the whole family, right? And the kids were going up to the van and getting chips and tomato sauce and basically sitting on the ground eating them, out of these kind of plastic trays, while John Hegley's Norwegian wife just stood there absolutely aghast about the awful spectacle that was unfolding on the pitch, off the pitch. I mean, you know what Central Park's like. That was the time I went to the toilet and there was a dead pigeon in the room. Someone had stolen the light bulbs, and there was a sign up on the wall saying, the toilet hole and toilet hole holder has been removed due to vandalism. And this poor woman came up to Edinburgh during the Edinburgh Festival thinking it's all going to be Radio 4 and nice Scandinavians, and they've ended up at Central Park with David Belcher and her husband. And you're thinking, this is just a perfect setup. John Hegley at a Thistle match in Cowdenbeath at Central Park, while his kid these kids had never seen chips and tomato sauce the way they were wiring into them. So, I don't know what that proves, that story. But having John Hegley along at a game, I think probably qualifies for something anyway,
I think you mentioned the pigeon there, Ken. I think the difference probably between us and Cowdenbeath is Cowdenbeath would just leave a pigeon for dead in the toilet. Whereas if a Thistle fan found a pigeon in the toilet, he might try and serve it at the pie stall at half time.
I think as well, like you were talking there about the sort of poet and David Belcher as well. Kevin McCara, the late sort of football writer, one of the best football writers going, he went to Thistle games for quite some time before he became too ill. So like we've always had that sort of like very intellectual, maybe not necessarily a supporter, but we seem to attract that type of intellectual guy who everyone looks to in terms of their opinions on football in general.
I suppose as well you get someone like Jerry Britton getting his law books flung out the bus when he was studying to be a lawyer. And he talks about it quite openly, it was quite unusual, all these guys are going down the bookies or playing golf or whatever. And, that's at a kind of administrative level, but also at a footballing level as well. And I think that story is carried about with pride a little bit as well, It
almost seems like Pat Nevin should have been a Thistle player in that respect, doesn't it?
Yeah.
He's at the wrong club.
He's too perfect,
I was going to say, if you could all pick a player who you think should have played for Thistle but didn't.
Yeah, I'll go for Nevin.
It's got to be Pat Nevin, hasn't it? Yeah. The indie credentials and.
No, because when we were doing this yesterday, I thought this exact question, and the first thing that came up was, oh well, Pat Nevin, he should have played for us, and yeah, I think it's a shame that he didn't play. Can he still play? Can we get him out there now? He might do as a job.
Another one for me is another footballer who's gone down the sort of DJ route, and that's Gais Comendieta. He's big into his Velvet Underground and his DJ sets as well. Who's Pat Nevin, so he's another one
in the middle.
For me.
Nevin in the wing, that's a combination already. Jerry Britton up front.
Aye. And then Czerny in goal, who speaks like 5 languages, and he's got a degree in psychology or something like that.
He's got some quite good music taste as well, yeah. He's quite.
Foster's got a degree in psychology as well.
Aye. Intellectual X1 going on here,
Talking about Tam Czerny's taste, he's got an excellent taste in wedding venue as well. I've got to stick that in.
I wonder where he's getting.
Ken, you sort of touched on it there with your Cowdenbeath story. I'll come back round you again and ask you this question. What we've also put it out to listeners to sort of feed in. We have had some really funny answers that I'll read out. But what is the most stereotypical thing that you've seen or heard at a Thistle game?
But you see people reading books a lot up at Firhill. Sometimes, and there was a guy, and he turned up with, it was like hardback library book. Now, I couldn't see what was in the spine, but I think it was like a 2-volume history of the Russian Revolution. And he started reading it 5 minutes before half time and went and got his pie, came back, carried on with it, put his bookmark in, because he had a bookmark, when the second half started. And then about 5 minutes in, sighed and picked it up and started reading it again. And this thing was like a brick, like you just think, how did you get that through? Did they go, right, on you go, mate, off you go,
The match programmes have really came on in the last couple of seasons.
I know, yeah, exactly. 2-volume histories, yeah.
On a similar note to that, I tweeted it out when we were asking for the questions. It was the Thistle Morton League Cup game a few seasons ago, the Jack Storer goal. And there was a guy next to me sitting for the whole first half. He was just sitting reading The Establishment by Owen Jones.
I mean, I suppose seeing John Higley at an away match is pretty out there,
Bryan, what about you? What's the
most sort of hipster thing at a Thistle game? I think it was probably going back a long time before I even thought of hipster thing. We got promoted. Would it be 91 or 92 against Forrest at Firhill? The draw last day of the season, and they got denied a late penalty.
Oh God!
And remember, and we were all, because we knew we were going to get promoted, so we encroached onto the area where the John Lambie stand is now, and we were all sort of sitting about in the grass, and there was somebody sitting on the grass with a picnic. I mean, and not a full on picnic, but sandwiches in a Tupperware box. I've never forgotten that. I'd have been about 16, 17 at the time. And me and my mates, there was about 8 of us together, and we're all looking at this guy, sandwiches in a Tupperware box, watching on, waiting to invade the pitch. And I wonder if he picked up his Tupperware box and ran on with it. But yeah, that was quite good. It would have been better had it been, a cheeseboard and a wicker hamper. But it's you take your victories if you can get them.
I do like the idea of him invading the pitch and just laying out a big tartan blanket and then just sitting down with his picnic on the centre circle.
Kind of Doris Day gingham cloth thing going on,
That's it.
Mark, what about you?
There's a couple, one that I wasn't there for, and and a couple kind of that I was. One of them is being the Ewan Callison dishing out vol-au-vents on the train back for an away game once. I think it was at Christmas, he said. And then on a train journey with the same guy going up to Arbroath, they got in the last season, and he got out like a fucking charcuterie selection, and a set of like dips and crisps, and it's been called the Dippy Express ever since. Like, if you ever had the privilege of knowing you, and he's without, I call him the prof. Like, he's what a guy. Absolutely love any time spent with him in the Woody. He's definitely one of the more eccentric fans. Maybe not as eccentric as Mr. James Kenneth, but he's up there. Like, it's 1A and 1B for me.
Ken, we worked together, and when I moved office into our office now, the first thing somebody said to me was, "Oh, do you know Ken? He supports Partick Thistle. Or have you heard about his cheeseboard story? Do you want to tell that?"
The cheeseboards, like I say, I was going to try and get the cheeseboard that I didn't manage to get. Do you know what it's like going up to Inverness? And I mean, you can't drink for that amount of time and still arrive there in any fit state to do anything. I mean, you're quite hyper early on. But the older we've got, the more we've kind of moved towards, let's make a day out of it. We'll have a few beers on the way up, but we got into a kind of, not themed. I mean, there was one year we had a whole Christmas dinner with tablecloths and crackers and everything. And my mate had made mince pies. And these 4 old ladies got in, and he spent half an hour describing how he'd made the pastry to them with hot water. But that's anyway. But it was going up. The classic.
I wish I'd seen that.
The classic Inverness is you want the straight through train. You don't want to have to change at Perth with all that mucking about. And we changed at Perth, and we had all this stuff together. All the food and everything. But you don't. There's no point in eating between Glasgow and Perth. It's too short a journey. That's a couple of cans. So we got on, and Hibs had been playing St were playing St Johnstone, and they'd been in the train before. We arrived in this carriage, and it was manky. There were stickers everywhere. And there were two OAPs sitting, and we came on clanking, and you could see them just looking at us going, oh no, here we go again, all the way to Inverness. There was beer. And the mate John Paul's quite fastidious about these things, and he goes, right, I'm not going to put up with this. He pulls out a thing of antibacterial wipes and starts wiping down the table, right? And they're thinking, okay, right. So we get the cans up and everything, pull out a purse, start climbing up, Dunkeld, all this kind of thing. I'm like, yeah, time for some scran. And John Paul pulls out a cheese board, like a proper wooden cheese board, grapes, half bottle of port, and about 4 or 5 different cheeses from I.J. Mellis, crackers, everything. And we're sitting there, and these OAPs are thinking, I think we preferred the Hibs fans, to be honest, because we're being total, it's just like, what, this kind of thing. So we carry on, and I mean, it was great, really, really nice. You're coming up through the slough, sitting there, glass of port, bit of nice, quite right brie, perfect temperature. So we got off at Inverness at the other end, and I think we probably went to the Phoenix or something like that, and then get the bus along. So we arrive at the ground, and can I get a look in your bag, boys? The guy opens it up, and John Paul's got this cheese board in it. And the guy pulls out and goes, what's this? John Paul's like, that's a cheese board. And the guy's like that, what are you doing with it? He's like, we had some cheese in the way up. And the guy gets his walkie-talkie, he's like, I don't want to read, What are you going to do with it in there? John Paul's like that, I'm just going to keep it in my bag. I haven't got any more cheese left. And he just lets us in, and it was just, and he's got the cheese knife and everything with it, in the wee kind of groove. And that was it, and ever since, in fact, it was David Belcher who coined the term cheeseboard casuals, And it was just, it was just brilliant. It was a great day. I think we lost 2-1 actually, which kind of took the shine off the cheeseboard, as it were. But it was just brilliant, and it's just really, really nice. I mean, I think anyway that Perth to Inverness is one of the great railway journeys of the world anyway. But sitting there, a couple of nice cheeses, drop of port, and football at the end of it, fantastic.
Idyllic.
Anyone going to top that?
I remember once a similar sort of getting to the ground with a bag and realising you've got stuff in that you probably shouldn't have. I still from time to time play very nerdy trading card games, so like things like Magic the Gathering and things like that, and they're quite expensive cards and stuff like that. And I'd went to like a cafe, wherever I was playing it before a game, before Ibrox actually. It was a game at Ibrox, that's what it was. So I turned up and was sitting there and I had my bag. He's like, what's in your bag? I'm like, oh fuck no. And he pulled out this big box of 100 cards, and he's like, what the fuck's this? I'm like, look, some of those cards are worth like 35 quid. Can you please no fucking pull them out or anything like that? And he's sitting fucking down with getting all the dice out and all that. And he was just like totally bemused. I'm like, look, it's a game. Leave me out. Like, I'm not going to do anything with it. And I think he took some of my dice because he said I could throw them at the Union Bears, which I thought was quite funny. But yeah, I think getting searched by the Ibrox security staff at a Thistle game and then pulling it off my Magic the Gathering cards and spilling them all over the floor is probably the worst I've ever had. It was pretty bad.
To be fair, with Magic the Gathering, some of the Rangers support look like some of the cunts in the cards.
I think one of the best ones we got when we asked what's the most sort of stereotypical thing you've seen, Jack Meadows tweeted in to say that he saw a guy eating his pie in the Jackie Husband stand with chopsticks one game.
Can I just say for a minute, I can totally buy this because seeing recent seasons, the quality of the pie at Firhill's been nothing short of a disgrace. It used to be, about like the season before we got promoted, used to be absolutely brilliant. Your steak pie was really good. There was no scrimping on the steak or the gravy or anything like that. And now you get this crumbly English mould mess at games. Mind you, I do miss it. It's been a year, more than a year now. But I can totally buy that because Firhill pies have a tendency to fall apart in your hands. So I can totally see that happening.
I have a friend who was a big Thistle fan when he was younger. You know him Mark Matthew Dixon. He used to go all the time, sort of early 2000s or whatever, and he used to always rave about how much he loved the pies. He says they're the best pies in Scottish football. And then by the time I got there, they'd just, like, you know, the sort of Premiership, the first season Championship, they kind of declined. And yeah, I can totally buy that.
The pies are poor. I think I was going to ask you later on what's like the most, or what's the one thing that you've done that made you think, oh, I'm a hipster. And for me, it's maybe going to all the grounds and rating the pies rather than the pubs. And the Firhill pies, I'm with you, Mark. They're substandard. I just wanted to mention one thing I heard at a game last season. I'll maybe come round and ask you if you've heard anything funny. It was at Dundee United, and I think it was possibly the last away game before the shutdown, and Tommy Robson was playing left back, and he was running down the wing in front of our fans. We were down in the corner at Tannadice that day. I think it was Lauren Shankland putting a challenge on him, and as they got up, they sort of squared up. And you normally hear not Thistle fans, you normally hear football fans go, oh, hit him, knock him out, boo, all that sort of thing. Somebody just stood up behind me and shouted, challenge him to a duel. So I'm in a Thistle away in today.
Lovely.
Anyone got any more things that they've seen or heard at games?
Yeah, I heard one, and I don't know if the guy had stolen it from Fred McCauley or Fred stole it from him, but I'd heard Fred talking about it as well. It was at a Thistle game. I can't remember. It was Falkirk. We were definitely playing Falkirk.
Johnston.
Was that?
Johnston. It was Johnston. Yeah, I think it was 2006.
Was it the guy in he said something awful happened as usual, and the guy said, fucking boo!
Aye.
One thing we haven't mentioned, which I think is very much possibly the peak of our hipsterdom, is do you remember the year we got David Shrigley, who by his very association makes us a very hipster club, but we had like 4 or 5 giveaways of like actual like internationally renowned artists just making pieces of art to give. Like I think we've all got like the Japanese wave cushion. And the face masks, and like there was quite a few of them. I think there was like 4 or 5 of them. I get quite a few of them. And the ball as well. They gave it the ball, and it was really neatly made.
Do you mind
the big
like the foam finger
as well?
The foam finger, which ended up going up on the 5th.
Aye, the 5th plinth down in Trafalgar.
In Trafalgar Square. And like, apparently that it was for a while worth like hundreds of pounds. Certainly was for a while. I saw somebody selling one on eBay for like £100.
Think how many people strew them into the canal or something like that afterwards and realised they just threw 150 quid into the canal or some nonsense and left it in the pub.
And there was the yellow card as well.
Yeah, I remember the yellow card.
A wee kind of pouch kind of thing, I suppose.
Did we not hand out like cushions? Not like proper cushions, but like wee cushions for the hard seats, and they were branded in the promotion season or just after we come up or something like that.
It was based on that. It's like a really famous Japanese painting of like the waves. Hokusai painting. And it was from like a renowned Japanese Hokusai artist who had made this cushion. Can you imagine the correspondence of that guy sitting in like Tokyo or something like that? And somebody just emails him going, we'd like you to make some cushions for our football club. Yeah. It's like, what? Yeah, well, no, I've got one of them there. They're good wee cushions. You still see people sitting on them now.
Mm-hmm. Well made. Artisanal.
You wouldn't get that at Ibrox. I'll move on. Brian, I'll come to you first on this one. Can you think of something you've done, and it doesn't need to be at a Thistle game, it can just be in your day-to-day life, that's made you think, I am a total hipster?
I'm more of a total wanker, actually. I messaged my sister earlier when you sent the question through, because I thought there's just far too many examples, and she's always taking the piss. And I thought, she said, it'll be something to do with coffee, or it'll be this, that, the next thing, or it'll be, and she said, what about that hashtag? And I said, what, the tweet like a Jags fan? And she said, no, the other one. And I forgot, I sometimes use it on Instagram. I use Insta like a Jags fan. And I'll put up silly things like, because I live in the middle of nowhere here, so I've got chickens and things outside and whatnot in my garden. And so I'll put up, hipstery type coffee, having an artisan coffee in the garden with the chickens, Insta like a Jags fan. And I checked the trend, the tag this afternoon, and all of the posts that say hashtag Insta like a Jags fan are by me. So I think that's case closed for me there, I'm afraid. Sorry about that. But
Does that
here
make
we
you
are.
an influencer then, Brian?
What's that?
Does that make you an influencer then, since you've
Well,
got
you
your
know,
hashtag?
far be it from me to say. You know, but I couldn't possibly, you know. But yeah, I think the fact that I clicked on it and the only 80 odd posts came up and they were all mine. Jesus Christ, that's that's it. The one of them, I'm just going to bring it up on my phone just now because one of them, it was quite thistly, I suppose, because I live in a wee village in the West Highlands, and it's the village shop is a key store. Do you have those in the metropolis?
Aye, yeah.
Kinda, it's like a subpar Spar, effectively, and it's not very well stocked, but it is literally it is a key store. It's essential because otherwise you have to go to the ferry and go to Forrest and all the rest of it. And they don't have the most exotic ingredients, but I needed this is so wanky. I needed balsamic vinegar, right? So I went into the shop and I took it. Bizarrely, they had balsamic vinegar, so I took it up, and you have never seen a look like it. The woman, I've just got the post up on my phone just now, said I was questioned as to my culinary plans. I was going to make some Spanish thing, and she's, what is it you're planning to do with that exactly? So, I've never felt more like you can take the boy out the West End in my life.
Brian, just by the way, I've got a great recipe for balsamic mushrooms, which goes fantastically well with steak.
Oh, well, here we are. That's for the next train up to Inverness.
They've got to be hot.
Coverage here, lads.
I think we'll get Ken and Brian on for a feature every week. What they've been
It's turning
cooking.
into Saturday Kitchen.
You asked at the start of this, is Partick Thistle a hipster football club? And I think we can categorically say case closed. Definitely.
Well, if you may allow me to take the mantle from here.
I was going to come to you next, Mark, and say, don't say reading out Ghanaian football results in the car.
It's not. In fact, it was just last week. Me and my pal went for a sort of walk around the West End because she's a teacher at Hillhead. And so we went a walk through, like, just up Byers Road, through Kelvin Grove Park, up the Botanics and back. But I stopped into Waitrose on the way back because I just wanted to get just like a drink. And I noticed they had a sushi bar. So the day after, like last Wednesday, I literally went from Bishop Briggs, where I stay, into town, subway over to Kelvin Bridge, walked up to Waitrose, got myself 2 packets of sushi from the sushi bar, and sat outside Hillhead Book Club sitting eating sushi with chopsticks. So yeah, that was the thing I did last week.
I'll repeat that I'm sorry for branding you the least hipster here. I apologise. I think David's going to have to take up that mantle.
You see, it's really interesting.
Well, you say that, but you've not asked me my hipster story yet.
Right, go for it.
So I feel indulged you with 2 that are kind of interconnected. I am into my very weird art, right? Absolutely love it. And in my very weird music as well. I think the most hipster record I have is I once bought when I was a student, because of course it's the only time you'd buy it. I bought a vinyl album it's a woman who went to work every day in the train, and the lunch car announcement, or the buffet car announcements of the buffet car being open, she recorded it every day for like 40 days and put it out in vinyl. So it's just over and over again. It's just different wee jokes and stuff like that over and over again. And I own this. I don't even own a fucking vinyl player anymore, but I own this vinyl of just this buffet car announcement over and over again.
You mean a record player, David? Not a vinyl player.
A vinyl player.
Also, is the girl on the train not an Ocean Colour scene song?
Probably.
That's the David.
So yes, I own this record. It's on Spotify. It's called DMM Bar. Give it a wee listen. But this kind of leads on to my other thing, where because I'm into all this weird stuff, I have lots of friends who are into it as well, who'll put on like gigs and stuff like that, and strange like performance art pieces and stuff like that. So I just like to formally announce here, Matt, I once played the ghost of all cows killed by the meat industry in a vegan performance art piece.
We have a winner.
So, yeah, my friend, it was a vegan barbecue, and I was quite steaming. And he was like, I need a ghost cow. I need a ghost cow. And I'll do it. No bother. On with the sheet cow mask. Now I couldn't see anything at the cow mask, which is a bit of a pain in the arse. But it also meant that I was standing on stage, and my friend, who was also quite drunk, jumped up on stage, ran across it, and speared me off the stage to the floor below, because I couldn't see him coming, so he just rugby tackled me off the stage dressed as this ghost cow. And I was
What a maneuver!
But yeah, being a dead cow in a performance art play is probably the peak for now.
There we are. Draw a line under it.
Yeah, we'll move on.
Sorry, Matt, if we are talking about performance art, I think we should spend a minute talking about the performance during the Aberdeen game.
Can we please not talk about that?
Right, okay, we won't talk about it. We'll speak no more of it.
Please do, but like...
Oh, I can't. I really can't, because it's just so woeful. It was Davy Means, Alan Fraser. Who else was involved in it? And it was choreographed, wasn't it? And it was meant to be the League Cup final. And we were 4-0 down. I mean, it was the second game after we'd made top six.
I think it was the last game of the season, Ken.
It was the last game of the season.
It was,
I remember it kicked off at 12:30, and me and my pal didn't realise it kicked off at 12:30 until 25-1. Because we were too busy getting smashed.
So it was a match day, basically.
I don't want to be a pedant, but I think it was 5-0 at half time.
Was it 5? And this bunch of fandans, most of who are came on and reenacted in a kind of modern dance style very poorly the 4-1 the League Cup game against Celtic. And you're watching, they're going, this is like a weird nightmare. You know, you're just like, make this stop now. You can't do that. Oh, it was just atrocious. I mean, somewhere out there might be film of it. I've never seen film of it, but you would imagine someone.
I think they burned all the copies afterwards. Buried them in a garbage dump, like that ET game.
But in terms of performance art, that was just another level, you know?
It was crazy. I think that's the sort of thing, when that happens, it gets so much sort of attention because it's Thistle doing it again. I think if it was another club, if it was St Mirren or whoever, just doing that would be, that's a bit weird, but it's Thistle, so it's they're at it again with their weird, slightly obscure humour. I've got one more question, but I also want to ask you, has your opinion changed now we've had this conversation about us being a hipster club? Have we convinced you by having this conversation that we are a hipster club? And the last question I have is, the board have come to you because Thistle are in danger of losing their hipster cred. They need you to suggest one thing to gentrify the club. What do you do? So, Mark, I'll start with you.
Oh, fuck. I would probably have like a rotating menu of varying world delights to purchase at the kiosks before and during games. Perhaps like a selection of luxury French pastries, followed the next month by some sort of like Portuguese street food or something like that, you know. Really just rotate in that sort of direction, you know. World foods, rotating world foods. With vegan options, of course.
I'm in on that, Mark. I'd get right behind that.
Definitely.
I'd have Greig's in the concourse selling their vegan range. Ken, what about you? What would you change?
I was trying to think about it, and I think that's a brilliant idea. You know, like you get these. Do you know the big German markets that you get where they've got these massive paella pans? Yeah. See if they did that up at Firhill, it would go an absolute storm because you can just keep the thing going. Anyway, no, I think we should get that bunch of wallpaper designers down in Great Western Road. What are they called again?
Oh, yeah.
You know the ones I mean?
The ones I know, just along for the caravan shop.
Aye, just along from the caravan shop. Hang on, I'm just going to Google it. And they should design the next strip. Aye.
Fantastic idea.
Aye.
I would be in for that.
With...
What is
Aye,
it
right,
called? That's annoying. Timorous Beasties, is it?
2 seconds. Timorous Beasties
aye.
to design the new strip.
It's a good call.
It's a good one.
Brian, what about you?
I have a manifesto. I have considered this in some detail. I'll go to the food theme first, because my favourite one has always been the idea. I think the food at football grounds in general is shit. We should definitely have wood-fired pizza and a proper espresso bar. Nobody should be forced to have instant coffee ever at any point in their life. And having that food, no, it's not good enough. Wood-fired pizza, flat white, right? Next thing, Jags branded bicycle clips to wear whilst you cycle along the canal towpath to pick up the Partick Thistle branded canal barge tour for the full Amsterdam experience.
That's a fantastic call. No, Brian, I'm absolutely with you. I think you should contact somebody at the club. That would be a great way to get...
them about the wood-fired pizza oven on several occasions, to no avail. So the barge idea might just... Now the Suez crisis is in the news, I think that the barge idea might be a goer.
Well, we'll have a big draw, lose or draw advertising stripped down the middle of your barge, if that's okay. If this is where the idea was born.
Yep, definitely. Love it.
David, what about you?
I went a wee bit sideways with this. Something that has absolutely no practical use for the club, but would be very amusing regardless. You know that story about Danny McGrain when they played in Albania, and there was this whole thing we had to shave his beard because beards were illegal or something like that. I would like the opposite of that, where everyone had to grow a beard and a moustache, and we would have a club barber who makes twirls their moustaches and stuff like that, and does their beard to make them very, very hipstery. It'd have absolutely no practical effect on the pitch, but it would wind up some old Daz, and that's basically what I want from my football club at this point. So I can't even grow a moustache. I'm not even going to pretend I can, but I would like to see other people do it. I want old Victorian gentleman moustaches.
I'm with you on that, David. I'm right behind all your ideas. I think Stuart Bannigan's probably our most old-fashioned looking player. The sort of comb-over hairdo he's got. He used to just be a short sleeves man, black boots. I think he does look the most old-fashioned. I'd be totally behind a team of Stuart Bannigans. Yeah. I think my idea would be, it could possibly be used for goal music, but also just to get the atmosphere up. Use the Bing and set up an orchestra there, so we can have orchestral versions of Mary from Mary Hill and well-known Glasgow football team, things like that. Just that playing on the strings from the Bing.
That would be wonderful.
To go on that, I would also say, see when we're getting too close to the goal, they should do suspenseful.
Bernard Herrmann.
And then when we miss, can they go wah wah wah?
Or the Jaws theme when they're about to take a penalty or something like that. Something like that.
The Jaws theme when Scott Fox has got the ball at his feet.
Matt, talking of the music thing, Bob Stanley of San Etienne was on Twitter today, and he said, Ken Bruce had played Sylvia by Focus. So I replied to it saying, played pre-match up at Firhill, still to this day. Member of San Etienne comes back and goes, I didn't know that. Superb.
Fantastic.
That's quite hipster. Maybe not for San Etienne, maybe for someone, me, a dad kind of thing,
San Etienne are class. I like a wee bit of 80s music.
I know, yeah.
So just before we finish, I'm going to come round you and ask you again if you think we're a hipster club. Do you think we are a hipster club more than you did 45 minutes ago when we started talking? One word answers. Ken?
Aye.
Brian?
Oui, bien sûr.
David?
Vraiment.
Absolutely.
Mark?
With considerable bonhomie, yes.
Thank you for joining us on this special episode of Draw, Lose or Draw. If you've enjoyed it, tell a friend about us and rate us on iTunes. You can find us on Twitter and Facebook at Draw, Lose or Draw, and on all good podcasting apps. As always, stay safe and wear a mask.
We always find a way, and even come what may, we go for victory. We are the best, we are the best, we're better than the rest. Laddie, 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 oh, here we go. Here we go, laddie, 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 oh. Here we go, here we go.